This is KJAX, Jackson. Also heard at K281BH, Driggs, Victor, Teton Valley at 104.1.
This is the CBS News World News Roundup Late Edition, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Michael Wallace. A judge has sentenced former New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez to 11 years in prison for accepting bribes.
I am innocent, and I look forward to filing appeals on a whole host of issues.
I'm Matt Piper in New York. The judge announced an 11-year sentence after former Senator Bob Menendez tearfully addressed him, saying he'd lost everything he cared about. It's after Menendez took bribes for luxury cars, gold bars, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. 2 New Jersey businessmen convicted with Menendez were sentenced earlier in the day to 7 and 8 years in prison.
The Justice Department is reportedly talking with federal prosecutors about dropping the corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. CBS's Christopher Cruz has the latest.
The New York Times reports the officials have also spoken to Adams' attorneys. President Trump has said he believes Adams has been treated unfairly and suggested he was considering granting him a pardon. Adams was indicted in September on charges of bribery, fraud, and soliciting illegal foreign campaign contributions. He says he's innocent.
President Trump has ordered the opening of a migrant detention center at Guantanamo Bay.
We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo.
Health Secretary nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced tough questions during his first of 2 confirmation hearings.
In his opening remarks, he emphasized his agenda to make America healthy again and tried to clarify his stance on vaccines.
News reports have claimed that I'm anti-vaccine or anti-industry. I am neither. I am pro-safety.
Senate Democrats forcefully pressed him on the issue.
Are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine? Or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Senate confirmed Lee Zeldin as EPA administrator. The Federal Reserve has decided to leave interest rates unchanged. CBS's Kelly O'Grady says the Fed is still concerned about inflation.
Fed Chairman Jerome Powell believes keeping rates at current levels will slow the economy and eventually help push inflation down from 2.9%.
A former friend of A$AP Rocky testified at the rapper's assault trial today about how Rocky allegedly fired a gun at him in 2021. Rocky's partner Rihanna appeared at the L.A. trial for the first time.
A$AP, what does it mean to have Rihanna over here to support you today?
How you doing? If convicted, A$AP Rocky could be sentenced to more than 24 years in prison. Stocks lower today on the Fed News. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When you buy a new house, you might say,
"Shut the front door."
Winning!
No, seriously, shut the front door. We own this house now.
But you actually need to say,
"Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there."
That's right. The local State Farm agent is there to help you choose the coverage you need.
Welcome to my crib. No one says that anymore, but I don't care.
So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on it every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
The country's largest indigenous tribe is crying foul over President Trump's immigration crackdown.
There are complaints from the Navajo Nation about tribal members being racially profiled by federal agents and in some cases swept up in recent raids targeting undocumented immigrants in the Southwest. Kristaline Curley is Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council.
We've been getting reports that many of them have been visited at their place of residence or their workplaces, being asked for identification.
She says they're being stereotyped and targeted because of their skin color. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
A Colombian customs worker who admitted taking bribes and funneling more than $1 million in drug money was caught in part due to his daughter's social media posts. She posted photos of herself with designer handbags and a Lamborghini. The IRS found that strange since her father was only making $2,000 a month. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a Honey Buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Yeah, good morning. We got Jen Coker in the Zoom room. We're going to get there in a second. First, let's tee up the lineup for you. Feds raid a nightclub in Denver, cart away 49 illegals with suspected ties to Venezuelan gang activity. And they're sniffing up that pink cocaine. Man, that's never good. Pink Floyd will tell you that. Liz Cheney may still walk the plank for her involvement in the J6 investigation, even if she was pardoned by her BFF Biden. Should peeping Toms have to register as sex offenders? Wyoming thinks so. Drive much? 3 snow plows plowed into over the weekend. Turkeys get the boot from Casper, Wyoming. Wyoming's crypto queen is now America's crypto queen. Senator Cynthia Lummis named as boss of Bitcoin as she'll chair a key committee for Trump. We'll talk to a man later this morning who has made it his life's mission to put away child sex traffickers. We'll meet a beloved radio host who hung up his mic and headphones at the end of last year, and we'll chat with a woman who teaches students how to carve up cadavers at CWC in Riverton. Make sure you've had your breakfast. Let's get into the Zoom room. Jen Coker. Jen, you're our Zoom room guinea pig. Because every time I go to the Zoom room in the morning, it's always a wonder what'll show up. And it's not you, apparently. All right, let me work on my visuals because people need to see you. You look smashing today. I want to talk first right away with this ICE deal in, now it's not a Wyoming story, but it is, because when you've got people that possibly are, in fact, that's how they got tipped off to these illegal immigrants at this nightclub party in Denver. I think ICE and federal officials have been working this case for a little bit. They were tracing fentanyl sales, and they've been working on it. And this fentanyl and meth and everything makes its way to Wyoming sooner or later. So, yeah, give us a background on that, why this raid in Denver means anything to Wyoming and what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's close enough, right? Denver is not very far. And the DEA spokesperson I talked to said, you know, these investigations are going on everywhere, including in Wyoming. So we are not immune, and we definitely have cartel activity here. Now, he wouldn't say, he specifically pointed out the Sinaloa and the New Generation cartel and didn't say much about whether or not there is Tren de Aragua activity. I know that Claire did a story a while back, and there was at least one purported gang member in the Cheyenne prison. And I can't remember if he has since been deported, but that's a question for Claire.
Okay. There you are. Popped you back in. Sorry for that. There's Jen. You don't even notice, do you?
Technology. Yeah.
On your end, everything looks normal, right?
Yeah.
On my end, it's a complete mess.
Believe me.
Just one more thing, Jake. Just one more thing.
Total chaos, man. All right. So I did have another question. By the way, and just in case, you are probably hip to this. Me, this is too new for me, but the pink cocaine, I'm finding out, and I had to go to the DEA.com, DEA.gov, is not cocaine at all, usually. It's pink dyed powder, sometimes known as 2C, and it could have a lot of different things in it, like ketamine, MDMA, meth, maybe some fentanyl, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cocaine, maybe cocaine, but yes, bad stuff. And these are, we were hearing about stuff like this in Denver, like gangs taking over apartment complexes, and Trump, said that Haitians were eating cats and dogs up there in Ohio or something, and you don't know what to believe in news anymore, but here's a whole bunch of suspected folks who are in the country not properly partying with lots of drugs. So ICE with the big pinch in the metro area. And you did talk to somebody who said this stuff makes its way to Wyoming.
Oh, absolutely.
Regularly.
Yeah. And I have to say, I had no idea what pink cocaine was either. Apparently, I've been out of the scene for quite some time, but apparently it's a new party drug. And it's kind of the drug that keeps them going all night. And I will say that there wasn't a count of how many had ties to the Tren de Aragua gang, but only that they were invited there. It was invite only. And watching another news coverage this morning, actually, with an interview with the DEA agent in charge, he said there were illegals from all different countries. It wasn't just Venezuela. And he said even including one from Italy. So, the gang ties were just, if you get an invite to that, you know somebody who knows somebody.
Right. And that's probably not the biggest, thing you're guilty of is knowing a gang member. It's being in the country without, proper paperwork. You're not supposed to be here. That's the biggest issue, I think, that Trump has with immigration. And if you're not legally here, you're doing it wrong. And for those waiting in line doing it right, it's not fair. Whether you're doing pink cocaine or not.
Yeah, and there was a lot of guns and cash, too. He wouldn't give me an amount, only to say significant on both. But surprisingly, there was zero violence. Everybody went peacefully. No shots were fired. So it was, a peaceful bust as far as that thing goes.
Yeah, and that reminds me of like when the mafia used to get nabbed, and they would do it. They would comply just fine because they'd be like, "I'm going to be out by breakfast." They probably have some place, but they have some way of just getting right back in the country next month. They're like, "Yeah, no problem. El Chapo, get me out." We're not talking about, salt of the earth, people looking to make a new life for their family, trying to live on the down low just as a ranch hand, somewhere in Wyoming, here illegally. These are people here with drugs and guns. Sayonara. Adios. Go back to Venezuela or wherever. And when we last left this Campbell County Health, the Legacy and Living Rehabilitation Center, we found the 88-year-old woman dead outside in the courtyard. And I know the facility was questioning a few internally of their own employees. Now we see some action out of that just the other day.
Yeah, we had 3 contract employees fired or let go. Their contracts were terminated. And one was a contract administrator. And then there was one full-time Legacy employee fired. And that investigation is still ongoing. The police have not released the results, and they're withholding the identity of the person, which I'm attempting to get in touch with that person's family.
Yeah, I can imagine in the world we live in today, the litigious world, that there might be some lawsuits or something, but it's just too bad about the woman. And yeah, sometimes employees mess up at work. I know I do all the time, hitting wrong buttons and stuff, but it's never a life or death thing for me.
Right.
But it is for some.
Yeah, just a sad story. And apparently, I've talked to people who did know that woman, and again, they're not releasing their identity, and I'll respect that. But who just said she was just a sweetheart, and she was in there for memory problems.
We're talking to Jen Coker, Cowboy State Daily. She's got a fantastic story about a guy that you probably know if you're in the Gillette area. If you remember going back to the late 80s, this guy was a star on your baseball team, the Gillette Rough Riders, who Gillette Riders are like class baseball. They've been doing it every year. He's in the Riders Hall of Fame, by the way, 2020, third baseman, catcher a little bit, pitcher. Could have had a promising baseball career, Chris McDonald, but when he saw on TV the Kuwait, the whole Operation Desert Storm, he's like, war is real, and I need to do something about it. And he walked away from a baseball career, became a Marine, and give us the backstory on Chris McDonald, who we're going to talk to. If you get anything wrong, Jen, we'll know. We're going to talk to Chris later today. We may have to cover his face, and we may have to like digitize his voice. He's not undercover, though, is he necessarily?
No, not any longer.
All right.
Yeah, and I have talked to Chris on stories. Of course, he's in charge of the Internet Crimes Against Children's unit for DCI, so he's now in Cheyenne because he's a bigwig.
Yeah.
He's a commander at this point. But yeah, I had no idea he was a baseball player. And he just kind of casually mentioned, yeah, I was a baseball player. I'm like, oh, were you good? And he was just like, yeah, actually, I had quite a few scholarships. I had no idea about this Hall of Fame stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But he's very modest. He's such a modest guy. So you'll have to get him to open up about his accomplishments because he will not. I mean, I had to pry it out of him. But I had no idea about the baseball. I had no idea that he gave that up to serve the country. I learned a lot through the course of this story. And yeah, just a top-notch guy. I think I've gotten so many emails about this story, which has nothing to do with the writing of the story. It has everything to do with Chris McDonald. And people are just, this guy is amazing. So his reputation speaks for itself. And of course, he was undercover UC in Gillette as a drug guy. And again, he was modest about that because I'm obsessed with undercover. And so I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, he had a family at the time too. So he was like, I was operating, he wasn't undercover like with the DEA type for months at a time, but he definitely really had an impact. I mean, he was telling me he was part of a 100+ person indictment at once that actually was cartel affiliated.
Yeah.
But of course, he's so modest. So he's like, yeah, it was no big deal.
I know. And I think that's why you see such feedback from your stories of people wanting to slap him on the back because they never get a chance to do that because he's either behind the scenes, you don't even know it's him, or he just will deflect it. Anything you want, any praise you want to give him, he'd be like, nah, it's not me. There's guys like that we know, and those are the biggest heroes. It's interesting. His career coming out of the military, he never envisioned a law enforcement career, but he came back home to Wyoming and went right back home, got in the sheriff's office, and then decided money might be a better thing. He made a bad decision, he'll say, for a couple years of his life. He chased the dollar working in the mines, but then he got smart again, and his calling now is decades. He's on a mission, a righteous mission, in law enforcement. We'll talk to Chris later and get the scoops on why he's a Marine and not in the Army. That was interesting, Jen.
I thought that was interesting too. Yeah, the randomness of that. Just the recruiter doesn't show. And the other guy pokes his head out and says, hey, kid, come on in.
Yeah. Well, Army, you missed out. I know the Army recruiter's a no-show.
And he worked, again, he's way too modest, but he tested super high. and during boot camp. So he was put into intelligence. So intelligence is kind of his thing for sure.
Yeah. And I didn't, I wouldn't associate intelligence with the Marines. I'll have to ask him, since when does the Corps have any intelligence division at all? I thought they were all just about whooping butt, man. All right. What else is going on, Jen?
Well, I've got, I'm working on a couple profiles still. I'm talking to a couple people about legacy this morning. And what else do I have going on? I haven't gotten into this one, but this is my week to work on it. And that's the sale of bodies. And it's highly unregulated. So I've talked to a couple people about it, but I haven't dove in yet. So that's on my roster for this week too. And I've got a little very interesting story about the JonBenét Ramsey case. I can tell you a little bit more about that on Thursday. A private investigator from Utah believes he knows exactly who it is. And remember, this is unsolved to this day. And he said can tie it to another area murder of a girl. So
interesting.
We will see.
I love when we can dive back and solve old cases. It's just so annoying or frustrating. I don't know what the word is to know that someone, there's some kind of unsolved case, any kind of unsolved case, but especially when people are missing. It just seems weird. We're going to talk later to Tara Womack, who deals in bodies, but I'm assuming...
I saw that.
I'm assuming totally legit. She gets her cadavers from University of Utah, and we're going to talk about a super interesting program at CWC Riverton. So don't question her. I think it's all good there.
Mm-hmm. She's good. Yeah, what a fascinating story. Another good Jackie Dorothy.
Yeah, and we'll have Jackie on as well to talk more about that. One last thing, Jen, I think today we'll ask everybody, kind of riffing off the story yesterday where we heard that Elon Musk is intent on eliminating the penny. Do you have any use for the penny in your life? Would you miss it if it was gone?
I hate pennies.
Me too.
I'm so 100%. I mean, they're worthless. And I know people collect them, and it's a whole nother thing. Let them collect them. It doesn't interfere. I really resent pennies. They always end up stuck somewhere.
Yes, they're like garbage. They're on the floor of your truck, and you're like,
always.
Pennies?
And they're always stuck. Yeah.
Stuck somewhere.
And I just want them out of my life.
That's one vote anti-penny. Okay, we've got your vote registered, Jen. You have no use for the penny.
I'm an anti-penny activist.
I'm with you. If you form the club, I'll be your VP or whatever it takes.
We'll do it. Another mission we have, Jake.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go full crypto, but I'm ready to move away from the penny.
The first person who is able to explain crypto to me in a way I understand is going to win an enormous prize of some sort.
I will send Senator
Renee Jean. She's fabulous. And one day she tried to give me a primer, and I was like, Renee, you just must stop because you've lost me on the first sentence.
Your eyes glazed over.
I don't get how their mind. I don't understand the mining process, and I've done a lot of interviews too on this subject.
Right.
I still don't get it.
Isn't it funny how you're able to do a story, appear coherent about a subject, talk to a story subject, and then write a story, and you're like, I still don't know what crypto is. I don't know how it works.
Clueless.
Yeah, Cynthia Lummis will explain it to you. She's the new crypto queen. Yeah,
I'm tuning in for sure because I want to understand because I feel like I'm missing out.
All right.
I mean, I feel like I could be a millionaire and I'm not. So
you're still trying to rid yourself of pennies. Like, get these out of my life.
That's a first step.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm with you. Thanks, Jen, for coming on.
You have a good one, Jake.
Make it a regular thing. 6:06, and we'll talk to Jen at Reese. 6 past the hour. I like that. Jen's going to be regular. Well, she's already regular, but we've kind of moved our time slots around. I'll be right back with a radio legend. Oh, man, I will be honored just be in the same Zoom room with him. And we'll do it right after this quick break on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. It continues after these.
lot of need in the world, and if you're like me, it can seem too big to make a difference. But that's why I decided to start volunteering with Mercy Ships. Dedicating a few weeks or months of my life every year in the service of others has brought me more than I could ever imagine. Plus, I'm getting to meet people from all around the world and make lifelong friends. Hey, Michelle. And with so much to do here, there's an opportunity for everyone to make a difference.
High five.
But the best reason to volunteer is knowing that no matter what you do, you're helping change people's lives every day. Whether it's for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, when you volunteer with Mercy Ships, you'll find your purpose, your people, and your place in this world. And all you gotta do is visit mercyships.org today. I hope to see you soon.
Hello, this is Officer Ware for the Jackson Police Department. From November 1st through April 15th, from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., it is illegal to park overnight on Jackson streets or parking lots regardless of the weather. Please park off the streets or utilize the public parking garage on South Millward. There is a 48-hour maximum parking allowance within the structure. Vehicles left overnight on city streets are subject to being ticketed and towed. Please avoid parking vehicles in driveways in a manner that blocks the sidewalk or the right-of-way. Thanks for helping to keep our roadways safe this winter.
As Ned Stark says, winter is coming, and CarQuest is here to protect you with tire chains, tow ropes, 3 different brands of battery chargers, winter wiper blades, jump boxes, and a new product you'll want to check out called Escaper Buddies. We're still located on South Highway 89 by Whole Foods. Stop in and see us. Or give us a phone call at 733-6737. Let CarQuest defeat Old Man Winter for you.
Hello, this is Town Councilman Arn Jorgensen. I'm here to talk to you about the general penny of sales tax on the ballot this year. What can the general penny do for our community? The general penny can provide $7 million in additional revenues annually for the town for the 4 years as laid out in state statutes. The town anticipates more than half of the collections from a general penny will be paid for by visitors. New revenue will enable the town to meet our community's short and long-term needs, including human services, community recovery from COVID, core services, affordable housing, conservation, transportation, and climate action. The question on the ballot is, shall Teton County and the town of Jackson be authorized to impose an additional cent of general revenue, sales, and use tax to be used for general revenue purposes? Find more information at generalpenny.com. Thank you.
Paid for by the town of Jackson.
And we're back to it. And the man with a keen sense of timing, because he's done this before. As longtime radio host, it's Larry Proetti, although he's having trouble dialing in the tech.
Can I?
Hey, Larry.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, man. I hear you great. What's going on?
Great. Thank you so much.
Hey, well, I'm honored. You're a legend. I'm not worthy to be side by side with you in the Zoom room.
Stop that.
I'm serious.
We're all broadcast brothers.
Well, we'll get to your calling of baseball games. That's where I've actually heard you work. I don't have the benefit of being close enough to you in Cheyenne. I'm way over here in Jackson, but KYOY and the Pro Shop and all that. But first, this is Larry Proetti, and for decades, you've woken up with this guy. But his career started in, explain, how is there a Pittsburgh, California? What happened?
Yeah. Pittsburgh, California, about 33 miles east of Oakland. That's where I was born and raised. Mom bought a coffee shop downtown Pittsburgh back in '63. So I started hanging out when during grade school, go down for breakfast, whatever, or with my dad would bring me down. Summertime, especially, you would be with Mom. And I discovered the radio station right around the block, about 4 doors down, and started running in, running out, running in, running out. And They used to give me some 45s to keep me happy. My mom had a big alley by her coffee shop. Used to take them out, frisbee them against the wall, watch them explode. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday where I'm thinking of these labels that probably were worth some money. They like Parrot and VJ Records, United Artists, Atco, all these. And I remember one record in particular I threw against the wall and blew up. Reflections, just like Romeo and Juliet. I said to myself, who are this? Crash against the wall. Now today, I love the song.
Right.
But like I said, just hung around and just I was enthralled by watching the DJs through the window. You had a window, you'd come in and you could watch them at work. They had a big UPI machine. You could hear it click, 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 click all the time.
Yeah.
It was just so awesome. Here I am 6, 7 years old. I'm going, this is absolutely wonderful. Then and I saw all the girls stop by and look at the DJs through the window. I said, wow, these guys they're doing pretty good.
That's interesting. It's sort of like bringing video into this podcast or this radio show today. They all seem to have a visual element. Back in the day, many radio stations would be live and allow the public to interface through a window. Maybe the smashing of the records, Larry, was an indication that you were not interested in being a disc jockey, a Wolfman Jack. Let me break this record to you. You really wanted to make a connection in the morning with people. Like you wanted to tell stories and just be more narrative. That was your style, no? Is your style?
A little bit of everything. I like to, as I mentioned in the article, I like to be an entertainer. So again, when I had that opportunity to do mornings in radio, you talk about what's going on in the community. You talk about what's going on in your daily life. People like to know what was going on. I remember working at a local AM in town where I was able to bring my son in, who was 5 years old at the time. He was reading school lunch menus on the air. I mean, it was a thrill for him. It was great for me, and people loved it. So you get a chance to talk politics. You can run through the whole gamut. I had some great crews that wrote one-liners. I shouldn't say one-liners, but wrote some bits for me, and so I got to use them. So I would try to entertain folks, put a little smile on their face, throw a little back in the day where we say cartridge. Now you do it on hard drive where you can just hit a button real quick and then you got ha ha he he, or you got somebody that can add a little bit to the joke. But like I said, a little bit of everything. Sports, people could relate, especially when I was the voice of the Wyoming Cowboys on the floor when I was doing public address announcing. I'd come in the next day and say, oh, man, what a great game. Theo Ratliff, the chairman of the board's legislator. I could go on and people just enjoyed how relatable I was to them because I was an average Joe, no different than what you're doing. Well, some people think we're just holy. I don't want to say holier than thou, but higher than them. And it's like, no, we're everyday people. We go to the store, we buy, we shop local, we eat local. And again, we support all our wonderful advertisers. We always, whether we're playing softball or in my case, I like to play baseball, bowling, golf. We all interact with our community, and it's just a marvelous profession that we're in.
Yeah, the best way to remain humble in the radio business is to keep looking at the paycheck every 2 weeks, and you will not get a big head. It's no way to get rich, the radio game. Tell us how you got to Wyoming, Larry. You started out, you're bouncing around in California, and in radio, you just move up and up and up. I mean, you start out doing like not fun tasks. Pretty soon you do get your own show. Pretty soon you eventually got to Wyoming via Colorado, and you're on the pro shop at KYOI in 1989. How did it happen?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a very fast story. I'll make it as fast as I can. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with my old operations director in Chico, California, Jack Berry. We're one of two of the surviving air talents still alive from our old KPAY days. And I do believe our old news director is still alive. But I was in his office one day. I'm doing 8 to midnight. All of the guys that were in front of me, they weren't going anywhere. And so he sat me down. He said, "Hey, look, Larry, you know, I'm not trying to get rid of you, but maybe it's time to move on." So I thought to myself, well, I love music. I want to maybe, you know, progress as far as a music director job is concerned, send out tapes and resumes all over the country. Finally, Don Woods in Sterling, Colorado, at KSTC said, "Hey, you know what? We got an afternoon shift opening. I need a music director who can, you know, send playlists out to the music to the record companies." Took that job, worked there for about 3 years, moved on to Fort Collins. Stu Haskell, late Stu Haskell, liked what I did. He was working at KTCL. I was working on Kicks, and I always did commercials for him. And at that time, he had a vested interest in a radio station here in Cheyenne and said, "Hey, Larry, I'm going to make an offer you can't refuse." Brought me up here, and I got here during the Frontier Days parade. I remember seeing horse laying road apples in front of the radio station. Called my mom up, said, "I'm going to be home in about a year, Mom." I said, "I'll give it a year here in Cheyenne, Wyoming." And met my ex-wife here. She was working at the police department. We had a couple of kids, bought a home, raised our kids. Ended up leaving the AM back in it's a local AM here in town, left in 1998. I was picked up by Bob Rule as a free agent. He had a FM station here in town. He asked me to help him build it from the ground floor up. He was the one who tabbed the moniker The Morning Pro Shop when he hired me on to do mornings. Well, again, got tired of after it got sold a couple of times. The corporate world wanted to go off on my own and ended up picking up these properties in 2013. So it has been a unique, it's been a fun ride. It's been a painful ride at times, but like I said in our article, there's no other job I'd rather do than this. I love it. And again, it's just like we're talking here. And again, I'm not the greatest in technology. My son was the best at this, but I just love the interaction. And you can see as I talk with my hands, a little bit of Italian, but I just love what we do.
Yeah. We're just two radio guys talking. It's Larry Proetti, long-time voice down there in the Cheyenne area. Bob Rule still doing his thing in Cape Pine and Pinedale, by the way. I just saw him not long ago.
Yeah, Bob is he's getting up there in years too. Bob.
Yeah. He is. But you beat him into retirement just at the end of the year. You calling baseball games, that's one of the things. I mean, that's magical. There's been some legends who call baseball over the radio and try to paint that picture for listeners. It's an art. I do it as well, and I go back over my highlight reel, and really all I hear myself saying is, how hard is it to hit the cutoff, man? But you have a baseball background. You at one time promising lefty on the mound, and then can translate your knowledge of baseball and just paint the scene for people. I mean, you call a game like no other, Larry. What's that like?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Give us an idea of the art it takes. It's similar to the morning show. It's the same thing. You are connecting with that one person and you're bringing the baseball game into their living room. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I have to thank those before me. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I heard the legendary Russ Hodges, Lon Simmons with the Giants, Monty Moore, who was calling Oakland A's games at the time when Oakland moved out in 1968. He would say that dinger. You try to come up with different phrases for a home run. Matter of fact, and I'll get to my call on a home run. And then when I went to college down at Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo, we started hearing Vin Scully doing Dodger games. Vin Scully, Jerry Doggett. So one of my pitchers on my JUCO team, Tom Duvall, told me about an umpire and I guess he was a coach at one time, and somebody hit a home run. He goes, "Man, that dog will hunt." And I thought, well, here it is, 2020. Why can't I use that thing? We haven't used it since 1975. So I think the first time I used it for post six, the home run was hit. My son and I were with the Sixers down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Kostopoulos, young man Kostopoulos, hit a home run. I said, "And that dog will hunt." So you want to be different. You kiss it goodbye. It's out of here, that type of deal. So you try to come up with your own little phrase. And like I said, I just like that dog will hunt as it went out of the ballpark.
Yeah, the home run call is always the trademark of an announcer. Sometimes it's paid for. I remember Phil Rizzuto with the Yankees had to go through a year or two of Getty Goner to acknowledge Getty, the sponsor of the home run. But yeah, it's fun calling baseball. You probably called a guy that we're going to have on later in the show. This is just random that you two would both be on today, but we're talking about a guy who's made it his life's goal now to put away child sex traffickers. He works DCIs in law enforcement. He was a one-time Gillette Rough Rider. In 1989-90, he was inducted into the Rider Hall of Fame in 2020. Chris McDonald, third baseman, catcher, kind of utility guy, pitcher, back in 89-90. Where were you?
89-90, where was I at? I was here in Cheyenne. That's where I was at, 89-90. No, I wasn't doing baseball at the time. I think we picked up baseball when I was working for the local AM in town. I think it was about 1997 when we started getting into baseball. It was high school football and basketball back in the day. And here in Cheyenne, we've always had 3 high schools. It was Central, East, and then Seton back in the day. And then South came in after Seton left or shut down their high school football programs, or sports programs. But my point being, we started baseball in 98. I stepped away from it until actually, my son came back here in about 2017, 18, and I started healing up after my surgeries, that we started picking up post six baseball and having that opportunity of video streaming. We were one of the first to, Star Valley Media, and I'll give them a plug. My son picked up a lot from them, where we started video streaming our games as well as doing them live on the radio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, baseball, as far as not getting that opportunity to call it, disappointing. But, like I said, I give a lot of credit to my son here a few years back for us getting involved with post six.
Larry Proetti's called maybe 2,000 games of various sports over the years. He's the morning guy at the pro shop that you woke up with all the way until the new year this year. You signed off on New Year's Eve to end 2024. It's always hard to retire, Larry, and things always pull you back. You feel like it's a final decision. You're doing things behind the scenes now in radio. Are you done at the mic?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I like it again. I think of a friend of mine, and again, and I hope, hopefully, Jake, I can call you a friend too, because we're all broadcast brothers. Like I said earlier, Dave Walsh, and he retired as the voice of the Wyoming Cowboys, and I got to know Dave from the time I got here back in 1986. Dave, when he stepped away from his duties, he went away while he was still on top and still was great.
Yes, he did.
I look at myself. My game is still good when I can, like my final game I called for football this year was Pine Bluff State Championship win over in Laramie. I felt that was one of the best games I ever called. I just was so amped up knowing that was the last football game I was going to call. And when I did my last show on New Year's Eve, the bits were good. Saying goodbye, just I feel like I walked away while my game is still good.
What did you say? Take us back into the studio. What did you say before you turned that mic off for what could be the last time?
I just thanked everybody. I thanked listeners who have been with me from the get-go, from 1986. I thank the listeners. I thank advertisers. Without advertisers, like you were talking about paycheck earlier, we wouldn't get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And I look at our advertisers. A lot of them have become just very close personal friends over the years. So it was just more of thanking them instead of what it was all about with me. Again, because every morning that I talk to a blank wall, you have the opportunity of talking here on Zoom. But when I'm looking at just a wall in the morning and saying hello and good morning and all that other good stuff, signing off, and I could feel the throat, the Adam's apple right there, getting that little bit of a lump, and you can feel that tear developing in your eye. But it was like, without you, without the listener, advertiser, whatever, there wouldn't be a me. And I was allowed to be me, whether it was good, bad, or ugly. I was able to be me for about 49 years.
Well, yeah, we miss you already. The legendary Larry Proetti, the world is better off from the Pro Shop and all the decades you spent on the radio, and the airwaves definitely have a void in your absence. Get back. Don't call it let's call it a comeback, Larry.
Well, maybe you and I can tag team. I'll just move up to Jackson, okay? I'll sell these properties and head up to Jackson, and we can call games together. How about
I want to do that tomorrow.
I will be the guy that does stats, and I could be Scooter for you. Scooter Rizzuto. Holy cow.
I'm not messing, Larry. Seriously, make it happen. All right.
I'll give it some thought, okay?
All right.
All righty, Jake.
I got your email.
Thank you again to the Cowboy State Daily. I appreciate all that you've done. Again, I'm so humbled by all of this.
Yeah, buddy. All right. Thank you so much, Larry. Larry Proetti. Definitely legendary Larry Proetti, and one-time left-handed superstar pitcher, promising pitcher. Yeah, it's cool to talk to somebody in the biz. Just two radio guys talking. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back with our next guest. It's the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Back in a moment.
Time to break up with disappointing breakfast and make it your X-Fist. Cause Wendy's has your new breakfast love. We're talking a hand-cracked egg on every sandwich, always crispy oven-baked bacon, all coming together to make the Breakfast Baconator. That's right, a Baconator for breakfast. So go tell the world you're with Wendy's breakfast now. And hurry into Wendy's for the breakfast of your dreams today. We got you. At participating U.S. Wendy's.
Need health insurance? The deadline to enroll is almost here. With help from our friendly Enroll Wyoming navigators, we'll get you set up with health insurance for January 2021 and ensure your plan fits your budget and your needs. Get started today at enrollwyo.org or call 211 and ask to speak with an Enroll Wyoming navigator. Need health insurance? Open enrollment for the Health Insurance Marketplace ends December 15th. If you need health insurance for January 2021, our friendly Enroll Wyoming navigators are here to help. Working together, we'll find and get you enrolled in a plan that fits your budget and your needs. Get started today at enrollwyo.org or call 211 and ask to speak with an Enroll Wyoming navigator.
Hello, this is Officer Ware for the Jackson Police Department. From November 1st through April 15th, from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., it is illegal to park overnight on Jackson streets or parking lots regardless of the weather. Please park off the streets or utilize the public parking garage on South Millward. There is a 48-hour maximum parking allowance within the structure. Vehicles left overnight on city streets are subject to being ticketed and towed. Please avoid parking vehicles in driveways in a manner that blocks the sidewalk or the right-of-way. Thanks for helping to keep our roadways safe this winter. Hello, this is Officer Ware for the Jackson Police Department. From November 1st through April 15th, from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., it is illegal to park overnight on Jackson streets or parking lots regardless of the weather. Please park off the streets or utilize the public parking garage on South Millward. There is a 48-hour maximum parking allowance within the structure. Vehicles left overnight on city streets are subject to being ticketed and towed. Please avoid parking vehicles in driveways in a manner that blocks the sidewalk or the right-of-way. Thanks for helping to keep our roadways safe this winter.
Well, a big thanks to radio host Larry Proetti. You folks in Cheyenne, boy, you don't know how good you had it with a guy like that at the soundboard. From a humble beginning as a record smasher. I can't believe that. Larry would hang around KKIS in Pittsburgh, California, and look through the window and just say, I want to be one of those guys, a radio DJ. And every once in a while they'd say, here, kid, here's the latest Elvis Presley 45. And he would go in the alley behind his mom's business and throw it against the wall like a Frisbee. It's not that he wasn't interested in music, but he was interested in a radio career from California to Colorado to Cheyenne. And then the host of the Pro Shop Morning Show on KYOY beginning in 1989. Eventually the station owner. He owns it today. Larry Proetti, who signed off the air. I don't know what that's like, what that feels like to say goodbye. He signed off the air on New Year's Eve. Just this past year, Larry Proetti. Great story about him in the Cowboy State Daily. Jackie Dorothy wrote that. We still have coming up on the show, we're going to talk to Tara Womack, who is an instructor, teacher at CWC, the Central Wyoming College in Riverton. They have a really unique program, a medical program, nursing, anatomy, physiology, whatever you want to call it. They use, as you probably read in the story, they use cadavers from the University of Utah, which is very rare, to be able to obtain actual human bodies to dissect, to work on in order to, further your studies. That is hands-on right there. And there's not many medical programs at colleges that get to do something like this. And it's one reason CWC has been ranked in the top 2.4% of all colleges in America by niche for this innovative cadaver class. And we're talking about a It's a 2-year school, right? CWC, it's a community college. And it's on the map because of this program. And we're going to talk to Tara and just see, some of it brings up some questions. I want to share with you what they do with the cadavers, what the classes are like, where they get the bodies, what happens to them after, everything. We're going to explore the whole deal. Jackie Dorothy wrote the story. Jackie will be on later. She can talk about it as well, but we're going right to the source, Tara Womack, who teaches at CWC and teaches that. Yeah, pretty cool. We're also going to talking about high school baseball. We're going to talk about Chris McDonald, who walked away from perhaps a promising baseball career. Larry did. Larry walked away from baseball and became a radio guy. And Chris McDonald, promising baseball guy at 17 years old, but he went into joined the Marines, went into law enforcement, moved up the ranks in law enforcement until today. Now, Chris McDonald basically dedicated his life as a pedophile hunter, leading DCI, Department of Criminal Investigation for the state, leading DCI's Internet Crimes Against Children Division. He is the boss of that outfit, and that's what he does every day. He finds child sex traffickers and international connections he's got. Big time operation. We're going to talk to Chris later today. So we got a lot going on the show. Also, I don't know, you want to do a weather forecast? Is weather meaningful? I'm still debating whether weather is important. I don't know whether weather is important to most people. Get their weather from a trusted source. Everybody gets their weather from an app. I mean, unless I see something outstandingly noteworthy to talk about, I don't know that weather does it work in this day and age, in this kind of a format, this podcast radio show, which soon will be syndicated around the state, and it may play in the morning when weather is happening. It may rerun in an afternoon, and then the weather is kind of old at that point. So I don't know if I might just ditch the weather. Andrew Rossi's on today. He's got a whole mess of stories I want to get to. Let's go to the legislature. Why not? Leo Wolfson says the House has advanced a bill that will allow for hand counting recounts in Wyoming elections. Now, those of you think, well, we already have recounts, right? And occasionally there'll be a race so close that it'll automatically trigger a recount. I forget the criteria, but if somebody wins or loses by 1% of the vote or 2% or whatever the criteria is, it might even be in this story, less than 2%. Okay, good job. Leo Wolfson is on it. So currently I think that's 2%. The bill would require a hand recount, not machine. So, the votes are tallied, and if the result is so close, less than 2%, then they would go back and recount them electronically. Just run your ballots through the machine again. Is that the sound it makes? I should have a sound effect for that. They run it through the machine again. Might sound like, maybe it'll sound like this. No, that's my replay thing. I don't have a sound effect for running the votes through the machine again. It's rare that I would have occasion to use it. But there will be no sound, no more sound of that if this bill goes through. The bill would require a hand recount for all races decided by 1% of the vote or fewer. They would automatically trigger a hand recount. That's what this bill is talking about. The Wyoming House Appropriations Committee advanced the bill yesterday. by a 6-1 margin. And it calls for somebody actually physically reading the ballot, counting it. Okay, there's one for that dude, one for her, one for Mickey Mouse. And you would count them all. House Bill 232 would initiate hand recounts in close races. They would also allow for recounts when requested. Sometimes the loser will say, I think something funny was there. Can I get a recount? Now, is this going to be costly? Yeah, a little bit. If enacted into law, the bill apportions $200,000 for the state to run the hand count. And Secretary of State Chuck Gray is all about this. Of course, Secretary Gray, all about election integrity and what's more fail-safe, what's more foolproof than hand counting. Don't let the machines tell you something. Who knows what kind of mistake could happen there? In fact, when they were debating this bill yesterday, committee, how many times did they mention the miscount in Weston County? Oh, a lot. Multiple times it came up during testimony on Monday. The miscount reported State Rep Chip Nyman Hewlett as having received just 15% of the vote. Well, we knew that was wrong. Nyman was supposed to be a shoo-in for House District 1 race because primarily he had no competition. He was running unopposed. And it was hard to believe 85% of the voting public in that race said, we don't want Chip. We want nobody because there was no one on the other ticket. Nearly 85% were marked not voting in that race. Well, that was a mistake. And we found out what happened. The ballots were wrong. But see, that's where a hand recount might come in useful and worth $200,000. So, Secretary of State Chuck Gray is committed to this bill because recently he went before another committee in Cheyenne and he asked for an additional $300,000 to run his department. So his own department, Secretary of State, the Office of Secretary of State, he needed to hire some more employees. He wanted a new computer system and he needed $300,000 to do that. And they said no. Well, here's $200,000 that Secretary Gray could use in his own department, and he's willing to say, well, it's more important this $200,000 goes toward making sure our election is right and trustable. The bill passed 6-1 House Appropriations Committee yesterday. Only Representative Trey Sherwood, Democrat Laramie, voted against it. It'll go to the House floor next. House Bill 232 would mean a hand recount. By hand, the old-fashioned way. We're taking it back. All right. Whatever we got to do to guarantee we can trust our elections. Yeah. All right, we're going to pause for the cause. It's time for news, top of the hour, and our local affiliates will do whatever they do for 5 minutes. We'll see you back on the flip side. Wendy Coors News coming up for those of you on the podcast. It's the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show.